My name is Teresa Tia, and I will be your service leader through the first part of today's program. In about 15 minutes, we have our own Tracy Foshee, who is our Vice President of the Board of Trustees, and she will be giving her talk today entitled, In Mind, Align with God Every Day. Okay, so today we have with us as our musician, we have the wonderful Lizzie Connolly, and she is going to be leading us in our opening song, You Are Welcome Here. So please sing along at home. Take it away, Lizzie.
All right, somebody has an airplane in their living room, so would you please mute? Thank you. There we go. That's much better. All right, here we go. Welcome to our family. We are all one, inspired and spirit-led, transformed by love. Renew our minds so we see what is true. Remove the walls we built between me and you. Welcome to our family, where our love grows, inspired and spirit-led, joy overflows. This is the place to start. You are the key. We've come to remind our hearts that we are free. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I am welcome here. We are welcome here.
And now I'd like to introduce Tracy Lane Foshee, our speaker for today. Tracy, you have to unmute, honey.
Why? Why can't you just get it? Oh my goodness, the mute, the unmute. The mute, the unmute. What a year it's been with us muting and unmuting ourselves. So, hello and welcome. I think most of you are familiar with my face in this little square. Some of you even remember me like with a full body. So that's nice. I'll tell you a little bit about myself in case some of you don't know me personally. I am a native Texan. I've been in Austin for about 30 years. We came here because my precocious toddler daughter decided to never eat animal meat again. And where we lived, that just wasn't going to work. So we actually relocated from East Texas and came to Austin because there was a Whole Foods here and good schools and other things that would expand her opportunities as a vegetarian person. So vegetarianism brought me here. I'm no longer a vegetarian, but I definitely am a tree hugger and a bird lover. So my formal education is in biology. However, I'm currently running a dog training and boarding facility in my home. I am a certified life coach. That's mostly my moonlighting gig. I'm certified by the Mary Morrissey's organization. She's the founder of the Brave Thinking Institute, and that's where I went and did my training. And so this week, the second week of Advent, I am going to explore with you the power of love. All right, let's get us rolling with the words of Jesus. Why not? We already had a little bit of this. I'm going to expand on what was in the daily word. I'm going to actually read it from my Bible. I didn't retype it. I missed that, you know, I kind of missed like picking up the Bible and just reading. I remember Linda Pendergrass telling me, just read the red letters, Tracy. Just read the red letters. So I went out and I bought a red letter Bible, and I still have it today. So I'm going to read you some red letters today. And if you don't know, in many of the traditional Bibles, anything that Jesus says is printed in red. All right. And he said, okay, so there's some sort of gathering in the streets, and people are doubting if Jesus is really who he says he is. And this is during a time when Judaism was the era of Judaism. You know, that's who, you know, pre-Christianity, right? So they had like 600 rules they had to live by. So not the 10 commandments, they were living by 600 rules, and they were expected to get it perfectly right every day. And so actually a lawyer from this gathering, this audience, says to Jesus, "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" And he said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend the whole law of the prophets." It's a great place to start. And I ask myself that all the time. How can I presence love? Can I get back to love? You fall out of love with the world. You fall out of love with the life that you're living. You fall out of love because people do things that don't work. People do things that don't work, and we just fall off the love wagon. So we're going to talk today about getting ourselves back on the love wagon. You find yourself being a negative Nancy, how do you become a loving Lucy really quick? Okay. So, so Jesus said that the kingdom of God is within you. So to love God, you've got to love your own aliveness, your life force, your life energy. It is our aliveness that we need to love. He said, there's no separation, okay, between your aliveness and your neighbor's aliveness. To love my neighbor as myself, which is the lesson he's teaching, it dissolves the separation. So when you love someone, the separation goes away. And we have those moments in love, especially romantic love and intimate love, where there's no separation, and you're just like one big ball of energy. It could be a hug after work, you know, that electric feeling when someone you care about picks up your hand and holds your hand. I've had that with children, where they'll just all of a sudden reach up and grab my hand, and it's just it goes bzing, you know, and you know that the love is present. So love is the core teaching in every religion, and it's actually the purpose in psychology. Carl Rogers was the founder of some of the most successful psychological therapies, and he taught there's only one thing that is therapeutic. One thing that is therapeutic, and that is to fill the room with love. That's the therapist's one job, which was the one thing that would bring about healing, was dissolving separation, filling the room with love. The therapist only had one job to do, to sit there and love. He said, fill the room with unconditional, positive regard for the patient. Assume that everything that your client does, and I would subscribe this then to everything and anyone we know, to assume a positive intent. Every single one of us, no matter what we do, there is a positive intent, whether we are aware of it or not, because we were basically good, every one of us. Now, Ram Dass, who was also a teacher, now he had been a psychologist at Harvard, but he went east, changed his name, became Ram Dass. Well, he taught that even the meanest, really the meanest criminal wants to live in love. He may have the most twisted and distorted method. He may be unskilled trying to get there, but deep down, what he really wants is to live in love. The mind that is confused or contorted will bring about actions that are confused and contorted. But at a soul level, what each of us wants is to learn to live an experience of what it really means to live authentically in love. Now, you know, Tony again and again has taught us about Ho'oponopono, and the Hawaiian therapist who brought that to us worked in a hospital for the criminally insane. He taught an advanced perspective about total responsibility. I call him Dr. E. Hugh Lin, because I can't pronounce his first name. I'm not even going to try it. But he would sit at his desk, not with the clients, not with the patients in the room with him, but he would sit at his desk and read the stories, read what they've done, all about them in their files, and say, I'm sorry and I love you, over and over again. That's it. I'm sorry and I love you, to the files, like the person wasn't even there. Turns out that loving yourself in Ho'oponopono, when you're cleaning the energy in yourself, in your own body, what's moving through you and around you. Love is above you and below you and to your left and the right and all the way through you. And when you love all of that and you're focusing on another person or their story, you're cleaning whatever part of their story, whatever part of their soul is linked to you or has merged with you or come through your awareness. And obviously, if the paper's on his desk, it's come to his awareness. So they are in his life. So when someone is in your life, just start loving them, start cleaning, start loving who they are. And you forgive them. I'm sorry, I love you, thank you, I forgive you. So that's the practice of Ho'oponopono. It doesn't matter the what phrase goes first. Those are the 4 phrases. There's actually a 5th phrase if you want to take it to the next level. The 5th phrase is, I forgives myself. And I could talk on an hour, a whole nother hour on I forgives myself. So I ran across last night, and this was new, a new add-in, because my husband and I were on a road trip and we were listening to a podcast, and they started talking about, I've lost the word, but it's the science of, some of you may know, if you know the word and type it in, it's the science of everything has energy, even consciousness, even if it's the desktop, even if it's a light bulb, a stone, a rock, so a snail, that if everything has consciousness, then, you know, I'll go back to Dr. Hugh Lin. When he came to Austin to lead I think it was their first Ho'oponopono talk, he and Joe Vitale rented I suppose a ballroom or meeting room inside an old hotel here. And he walked into the room and he said, oh dear, and he just stopped. And Joe Vitale said, well, what is it? And he said something to the effect that this room is tired and neglected. This room is tired. Now the room was vacuumed, it was clean. You know, the tables and chairs were set up the way they were supposed to be set up for the meeting. And he still said, no, we have to clean the room. And he meant Ho'oponopono cleaning. So he actually paused what he was doing and he loved on this room. He said the room hasn't been loved, and he could feel that. I've walked into gardens, and when you're in a garden that's been well tended, you can feel how fulfilled and loved the plants are. It's really amazing. So this brought me to a memory I had about a book that was in my Amazon buy it later list, because I just love books and people recommend books. And so I put it in the buy it later list. And this book has been in the buy it later list for over a year. And it's written by Dr. Emoto, Masaru Emoto. The name of the book is The Hidden Messages in Water. Now, this was new to me about a year ago, but it's been actually, I think he probably wrote this book in the 90s, and some of you may be more familiar with it than I am. I still have not purchased the book, but I think after today, I'm ready. Well, so in his work, he had set up a laboratory experiment with a control group and a study group to show the impact of positive thoughts and love. Like, what if we put some love on water? What would happen? So he had people stand in front of these, setups, and the microscope, the slide, and everything had water, and they were dropping the temperature so that the water would freeze. But while it was becoming solids, which is, its crystalline form of a snowflake, while it was becoming solid, crystalline form, he had people either, in some setups, they would direct negative thought, like, I'm really mad at you, I don't like you, I loathe you, you disgust me. And in another setup, it would be a person directing love. I love you. I appreciate you. Speaking of the water, right? I think you're the most lovely thing in my life, and I appreciate what you do for me, and I couldn't live without you, and I so appreciate you and love you, and you're so beautiful, and you contribute so much to me, like that. And they were separated from each other, so they didn't have awareness of each other, these people. And I don't know, all the details of how he did the experiment, but then in another room, the temperature was dropped and the water was all alone on those slides down the hallway. So no one was there, no one was thinking about them, no one was directing thought at the water that was forming crystals. And what they found out was that the crystals formed differently. That's all we can say, right? It formed differently. And then he realized that not only were they different, but when you showed those photographs to people, people had a preference. They're like, ooh, that's an ugly, warped, weird, ooh, crystal. Oh, but this one, oh, that's beautiful. Now, I can't see you all, but you can look at a snowflake and go, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful, right? So this was happening. So part of the study was not just directing energy at the water crystallizing water, but also at how people felt about it. I'm going to try to share my screen. I say that like we've never done it before. I'm going to share my screen if I can. Let me see if I'm allowed to share my screen.
I
can.
don't think you can. You can? Oh, okay.
So I'm going to share it and give me a minute to center it for you. So these are the crystals. And this, actually, I think I pulled up one that this was an experiment he did using oregano or lavender or something, but he kept getting the same results, whether it was directing thought or using other substances in the space of these crystals. You can see that there's a huge variety in how the water crystallized. And it's just water and temperature. But you get very different results depending on what's going on around the water. Now, do you know how much of us are water? Probably most of our life, at least half, if not more than half.
65 to 75%.
Thank you. Yeah. So even on a bad day, if you don't drink any water at all, you're still over half water. So think about what kind of molecular activity with water do you want in your body? Now, what happened with the experiment when he went on to show people these slides, people had clear preferences, right? So some of them were lovely and some of them are popular and some of them were not popular. And what he found were that the popular ones were from the people who had expressed love toward the water. And the unpopular shapes and sizes were the ones where people had not expressed love, or they had developed alone with no input, energetic input. So we have a preference, whether we know it or not. We have a preference for a kind of symmetry and beauty that we may not be aware of, but it's in us. It's in our being, and we didn't ask for it, but that's just how we got made. Okay, I could just go on and on, but I need to move forward. So here's the thing. You know, if you're feeling a negative Nancy, then the behavior of molecules in your body are going to be less popular if you could see them. Now we can't see them, right? But they would be less lovely to us. So we want to direct as much positive influence on the molecules of our body as possible. Most of us, when we stand in front of the mirror, don't direct positive thought at our physical form. We look at our physical form and start complaining, and at least find something that's not okay and focus on it. It's like, oh, darn, you know, I remember in high school standing in front of the mirror worried about a pimple. There's a pimple. Mm-hmm. The rest of my body disappeared. I stood in front of the mirror and all I saw was a pimple or a zit. We have habits like that. And this is what I want to bring awareness to. Now, this could be you and your child. This could be you and your neighbor. This could be you and yourself, your spouse, sitting across the table. And in studying to be a life coach and becoming more aware of this love expression and how we interact with each other with love or without love, I have found that it is almost something I need to tie that string around my finger to remind me to practice love. Do you remember, gosh, it might have been Lissy that did the Gary Chapman, The 5 Languages of Love. With somebody here introduced me to that book. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the 5 languages of love. It's kind of a review for some of us. But, you know, it is our goal in Advent to give up the judgment about whoever we're with, whether it's with ourselves or someone else. If we're carrying resentment, let it go. We want to release all things that have us bound or contracted, judgy, or negative. So we want to just hold lightly on those judgments. You hold lightly on the judgments because if you start judging yourself for judging, then you're still back to judging. Y'all get that? So we kind of just know that we judge. It's like, oh, look, I did it again. How about that? Gone. I just did that. It was brief. Boy, I sure was judgy about my neighbor when she walked by with that dog and didn't pick up her poop. You know, I was judgy. Oh, I was resenting that. Yeah, I was blaming that. Some of you know that I started picking up poop on our street as a practice, kind of a wax on, wax off, grasshopper practice. And I did that because I wanted to give up resentment. So I would do that and do Ho'oponopono. It was part of my Ho'oponopono practice. Now, I was sure that I knew who was doing it. And I picked up the poop and I found healing. And I tell you, I just like fell in love with this girl and her white Samoyed and through that process. Now, just recently, she has moved back to live with her father, and she no longer lives with her mother, who lives on the street. So she and the dog are gone. The poop is still there, like just as much as it ever was. I started looking closer at it. It's coyote, right? So the whole thing that I was doing about being mad at somebody for not picking up the poop wasn't even the person I thought it was. But that all got revealed as I could look through different eyes. So I gave up a filter. I gave up a filter of bitterness and resentment, and through that whole Ho'oponopono process, and then started noticing some details that I had missed. So I think I have a little bit of time, just a brief story. I was probably in my late 20s, and I had a toddler, and I was stopped at the grocery store. This was Brookshire Brothers. I don't know if y'all remember Brookshire Brothers. We didn't have H-E-B in East Texas. And I went in and bought some cat food or something I needed really quickly. And I've got my toddler, you know, dragging her around the store, got what we needed, get to the checkout, and the checkout lady made a mistake. And I noticed the mistake, and I said, wait a minute, you know, it's not that, it's this. And I didn't get that. That's not my item. I just have this item. And she took the item and she kind of chunked it. She threw it, and she was really mad. And she had to get, you know, a customer service or a manager or somebody over. And she was really snotty to me, and she wouldn't make eye contact. And I got offended. So I went outside, and I was offended, right? I'm walking out of the store with my toddler, and inside I am like, man, what has happened to customer service? Well, I didn't have compassion for her. I didn't have any thoughts about what was going on with her. It was all about what was going on with me and what I needed. And I was a customer, and what she should have done and what she didn't do. And there was a guy out there, a young guy that was collecting baskets, you know, the way they get these long rows of baskets. He was collecting the baskets up and dragging them up to the store. And he said to me, well, hello there, and looked at my daughter and said, aren't you just a cutie? And how are you doing today? And I said, we're doing fine. Well, I'm glad to see you with a smile and being so nice to us, because tell you what, there's a checker in there that just did not get this whole customer service and smile, have a good day thing. And he said, oh yeah, sorry about that. And I said, what? He said, that's Susan. She's having a really tough time right now. I can hardly tell you the story. So it was something like her son had had an accident, and he was in the hospital, and she was still working because she was a single parent and she couldn't afford to lose her job. So I got in my car and I cried. I cried for myself. I cried for her, because I didn't have the capacity to love and respect and honor her unless I knew her story. So the Dalai Lama teaches us to have the love and compassion without the story. There's no way we can ever know everybody's full story. But in fact, I found out her story, and then I was overcome with the compassion. But what if we could generate compassion and love as a natural response to anyone's behavior, no matter what it is? What if we could focus love and appreciation on all beings, or the waters that flow through them? The experience and that realization led me on a path. Sorry. Now, the Dalai Lama said, in the presence of that story, well, in the presence of the story, it's easy to forgive. But it's a low quality of compassion. I'm not sure if that's the words he used, but it's a low quality of compassion in the presence of the story. The high quality compassion is when you can turn that switch and turn on the compassion without the story. Then it's a very high amplitude, much higher degree of energy in compassion without the story. So I think, Debbie, how am I doing on time?
You're fine.
Okay, I want to make sure we have time for a meditation. So I'm going to review the 6 love languages. So the first one that might come to mind for you is the loving touch, because we all really dig that. But it wasn't actually in the study, and I think they studied this with about 20,000 people. That wasn't the one that was most commonly put first. The most commonly put first one was being heard. So when the checker, the cashier girl, Susan, was rude to me, what if I had asked her, what happened? That's the title of Oprah's new book, What Happened to You? That's what she recommends we say, a whole book about it. She's in a conversation with someone else. I can't remember who it was. It may be Deepak. What happened to you? What are you dealing with? Tell me more about that. What are you dealing with today? Wow, I am so sorry. I could even say, now we don't need to say Ho'oponopono out loud, but with that cashier that's being very rude, even to the point of being belligerent, I could say, wow, you must be dealing with something pretty rough. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for just putting that extra pressure on you. It's fine. I'll take the candy bar. No, you don't need to take the candy bar. I'm like, well, whatever works for you. I'm flexible. And if I need to move over to the customer service counter to take care of my problem, I can do that. Like, I really get that you're dealing with something. Do you want to tell me more about that? Well, I'm at work now. I can't talk. It's like, of course. But at least in that moment, she's being heard. And I still don't know the story. Now, another love language, it was actually the second most popular in the way people reported it in the study, was being praised and acknowledged. What if she said, well, I'm really a mess right now because my son he hurt himself on the skateboard and they've got him at the emergency room and I can't go until 4 o'clock when I get off. And I would say, wow, you are an amazing mother. What if I praised her? What if I acknowledged her and said, that's a rough day. I'm a mother and I know that I would want to be there as well. And you can't. I just really want to acknowledge you for being such a strong human being and making sure that you keep your job so you can take care of your family. I understand that. I appreciate what you're doing and how you're inspiring me to be a better human being in my family. The third most popular love language was touch. It was actually third on the list. Now, what if I had said, hi, my name is Tracy. Here's my card. Call me if you ever want to talk. And then she reaches for my card and I take my hand and I put it over her hand. And I say, hang in there. That touch is electric. When you shake hands, try this on this week. Next time you meet somebody, say, hey, brother, nice to meet you. Or I haven't seen you in a long time. And hi, how you doing? And you reach out and you shake. Put your other hand over there. It's beautiful. People love touch. And a handshake is kind of like, that's first base, right? Home run. Hugs can be great, but we're limited on the hugging right now. We were at a family Christmas party yesterday and there was kind of an arm's reach, but we did some handshakes and I touched and I said, I'm so glad to see you. And we did some elbow bumps and we're still, for the sake of some people, I have a sister-in-law that has an autoimmune deficiency and we're all just being really careful. And we kept the windows open, even though the temperatures dropped to like 40. we just put our coats on, and we kept, the room well ventilated, and she was huddled up under a blanket. So, but touch, it's electric. There's a real communication and caring. It's always appropriate, and it's always in line with the moment, and it's always electric, and it's energetic exchange. So let me see if I wanted to. Just want to say to you this week, there will be moments when you have a chance. It's the chance of a lifetime with somebody, where your action in that moment can make such a difference. It can be an expression of love, can be an expression of God. It's like God in human form. It's how it shows up, how it expresses, how real love listens, how real love praises and acknowledges, how real love moves through a touch. And I mean, I wouldn't have with the checker, wouldn't offer feedback, but that's another way that you can offer love, is to give feedback. That probably wasn't the time, but if you give feedback with love, then people really appreciate it. You want to support them in their goals and dreams. Now, integrity also is a love language. So keep your promises to people. Keep your promises. Now, if you can't keep your promise, someone I love borrowed some money from me, and she paid it all back yesterday and couldn't stop hugging me. And it's that relief, right? That it's paid in full. So her integrity level shot up, and all she could do was express love. And I wanted her to know that it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered if she never paid me back, because I always knew if she could, she would. If she could, she would, and she can't right now. I owe a friend some money, and I'm, like, I want to pay it back, but it's just not time yet. Like, we're getting there. We're getting there, and I know we're getting there, and I report to him we're getting there. And I have integrity and communication around it, and I give him feedback, and he gives me feedback, and we're in communication. So even though I didn't make it, I thought I would have paid him back, by summer, and I didn't. We're in communication about it. So the integrity is still there. I haven't run off with his money and hiding from him. So you want to have integrity in your relationships as well. All right. I think that I'm going to call that a wrap, so that we can have a song and have a meditation and still have time for a little visit. Let's all settle into our comfortable place. Take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And if you go slowly out through the mouth, your body is keeping more of that oxygen longer. Let you hang on to it a little bit. I like to think of myself blowing out lots and lots of birthday candles. It's my vision of having a vibrant, healthy old age with lots of family and love. And there's 80 candles, and they're telling me I have to blow them all out in one breath. Right now, love is before us, behind us. Love is above us. Love is below us. Love is within us. Love is aligned with God. Love is that which holds our entire universe in this perfect balance. Love is the precision in the law of mathematics. Love is the precision in crystal formation. Love is the yearning that comes between not only two people, but their cells. It is all that binds and grows and gives rise to precious gifts of life unto this universe, the one universe. God, whose name is love, has called you by that name. my beloved. You are my child, and I am already pleased with you. Now it is for you to get to know who you are, that you might be pleased as well. This week of Advent, we welcome a deeper transformational understanding of the nature of love, the alignment of love, the practice of what it means to live in and live from this love. We return quickly to love when we find ourselves claiming pain. We return quickly to love when we find ourselves being impatient. Love is kind. Love is not boastful or conceited. Love keeps no score. Love keeps no score of wrongs. Those thoughts only have power according to our attention, and we refuse now to put our attention on perceived wrongs, and we quickly return to love. We love, as the Dalai Lama called them, our sacred friends, our checkout girls that teach us how to love without the story. No score of wrongs. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "We cause as much pain by taking offense as by giving offense." When we become offended, we are participating in pain making. As we want the world to stop making more pain, we become the place where that occurs. When we stop taking offense, we become the place where pain stops. For with offense, there's defense. Offense, defense. We're creating war when we take offense. Breathe in love. Love brings peace. Compassion brings peace. Understanding brings peace. There is nothing we cannot face with love. There is no limit to love's faith, love's hope. There is no limit to love's endurance. Love will never come to an end. Imagine that, this love, this persistent, stubborn love. There are many things that will cease, but love will never come to an end. Putting love first then becomes a way of living. We wake in the morning with love in our heart and a gratitude for the day. If we're not feeling love when we first wake up, pause and simply remember that we can choose another way of being. It starts with our thoughts, our mind. Put love on your mind. Pause and insist on love. Be stubborn about it. Insist on love. We may wake up with a sense of separation, but with practice, we can be our true nature, to be our true nature in love. It is our nature to walk in this world in love, for it is of love that we are made. This Advent, each morning, say, "Thank you, God, for another day of life." During your busy day, stop, align with these words. Thank you, God, for another lunchtime, for another afternoon. Thank you, God, for this job. Thank you, God, for my coworkers. Take time to ponder, what can I love now? What is around me that I can love and love it? Love your coffee. Love your computer. Love the car that drives you around or takes you around. Ponder what, with all the co-creation, is here for you to love. Put your head on the pillow each night and in your mind, align with God. Align with love. If God is love and you are love, there's just one thing to do, one thing to love. Just love to love. Our first waking breath, we breathe in love. We create a pattern of love, a pattern that takes precedence throughout the day. We create a holy pattern of harmony, of peace, a holy pattern of alignment. It's a habit, and we are astounded and amazed. Don't be surprised. Be astounded and amazed at what happens, what you feel in your life when you focus your mind on love, on God, on the power that is in you, that is you. This is the miracle. This is pure alignment. This is love. Amen.